I'm here to recommend some wonderful reads to curl up with during the cold winter months. Hello book friends, I'm Jen and welcome to my reading life and happy Vlogmas. Today I am here to talk about some wonderful wintry reads that you can curl up with by the fire with a warm beverage and something yummy to eat, and you can just immerse yourself in the world of books, because what better way to spend the winter months than to hibernate and read. At least that's my favorite winter pastime. And I have a lot of books I'm going to share with you today. And some of these I've mentioned before on my channel, and some of these I don't think I have ever mentioned, but I think they are all good books to read in the wintertime for a variety of reasons. I have a few different genres here to go through, so grab yourself something warm and cozy to drink and let us get into all the good wintry books. First up, I am going to start with some mysteries, because what better to curl up with by the fire than a cozy mystery? And well, these aren't necessarily the coziest of mysteries when you think of the genre of cozy mysteries, but I do think these make wonderful wintry reads. And I'm going to start with the Queen of Mystery herself, Agatha Christie, because what better to curl up with on a winter's night than Agatha? And the first Agatha Christie mystery that I'm going to recommend is the Sitterford mystery. This is perfect for wintertime because it takes place in the wintertime and it is very, very snowy throughout the entire mystery. And I think I've mentioned before that I really love Agatha Christie's standalone mysteries where she has a plucky, intrepid young heroine who is the person solving the crime. I just find those standalones to be a bit of a breath of fresh air after reading Poirot and Miss Marple, whom I absolutely love both of them, but sometimes I'm just in the mood for a standalone mystery. And in this mystery, we have a seance, we have a manor home that is snowed in that perhaps contains a murdered inhabitant, and we have to go along on the journey to find out what exactly is going on in this situation. And of course, there are always lots of characters with perhaps some ulterior motives, and maybe they're up to no good, and maybe they have reasons for having killed the owner of the home, and you'll just have to read it and find out. But I think this is perfect for a winter night by the fireside. Then if you're in the mood for short stories, I think that Agatha Christie's Midwinter Murders is a fantastic collection of wintry and festive short stories. So you can read this one from the Christmas season on and into January. I think the stories kind of run the gamut in terms of being both wintry and also seasonally festive for Christmas. And we have some Poirot mysteries, Miss Marple, some standalones. I think there's Mr. Quinn is in one of the mysteries in here. And so you see a few of her recurring characters, and she's just the master, and this is a fantastic collection. William Morrow has been putting out these seasonal collections of Agatha Christie's mysteries, and I really enjoyed the winter one. And then the last mystery that I'm going to recommend actually kind of leans a little bit on the thriller side of things, but if you're not much of a thriller reader, I think you could still enjoy this. This was actually originally published in 1975. And since it was written in the 70s, it doesn't have the same level of thrillness that I think the thrillers that are being written today have. So if that's too intense for you, this one might be a good kind of baby step into a bit of a thriller, but really more of a mystery. And that is The Long Shadow by Celia Frumlin. And in this, our main character, whose name is Imogen, her ex-husband has been killed a few months prior to the start of the book in a car accident, and then suddenly she is being accused of his murder. And this is right before Christmas, and she suddenly ends up with a house full of guests for Christmas. Some of them are relatives, some of them are her husband's family, some of them are strangers to her, and there's all kinds of mysterious things going on, and it's up to Imogen to clear her name and figure out what really happened to her ex-husband. I received this for Christmas last year and devoured it in January, and I am very much looking forward to reading more by Celia Fremlin because this had me completely drawn in. It was a fantastic mystery. Another category of books that I think can make for good wintertime reading are memoirs. And I have a couple of memoirs that I think are excellent for the winter season. And first off, I am going to recommend my favorite author and her two memoirs, Home Cooking and More Home Cooking, because what's more cozy than reading about delicious food? And nobody writes about food the way Lori Colwin writes about food. So wonderfully comforting and cozy, and makes you just want to curl up or bake some bread or make a delicious meal for yourself or your friends or family or everybody you know. And I cannot recommend these two food memoirs enough. They are absolutely delightful and perfect reads for the winter season. And then my next memoir actually has winter in the title, and that is Paris in Winter by David Coggins. And this is David's memoir of the travels that he and his family took to Paris in the wintertime. And it is also an illustrated memoir, and there are some beautiful watercolors in here done by David Coggins, and they just add so much to this book. It is a lovely, lovely memoir. I have to say it is sort of written in little vignettes, so you're just going from kind of year to year during their trips to Paris with his wife and his children. And there is just some lovely descriptions of Paris, of food, of all kinds of wintry goodness. And I'm just going to read you a short little quote from here. Understanding and affection grow over time. One's love for a place ages as old furniture ages. It grows not dull, but richer. It acquires patina. And I just love that. Like, the more they went to Paris, the more they fell in love with it. And I think this is a beautiful book. It's a beautiful book outside, it's a beautiful book inside, and I highly recommend this, especially if you enjoy travel memoirs or books about Paris or books that describe food and locations in a really wonderful way. So this is a lovely memoir. My next pick is a middle grade book, and while this entire book doesn't take place during the winter time, it does end during winter and right around Christmas, and it just feels like such a lovely, cozy, wintry book, and that is A Place to Hang the Moon by Kate Albus. And this is set right at the beginning of World War II, and we have three siblings, and their grandmother, who was taking care of them because their parents had passed away, has also passed away, and now they are basically without a home. And the family lawyer, solicitor, or somebody, he basically tells them they should get on one of the trains, go out to the English countryside, and to present themselves as children to be billeted with family out in the countryside, because that's what they were doing with children in England during World War II. And so the children get on a train and do just that, and they are put into a few different situations. Not all of them are great. The kids do go through some hard things, especially at the beginning of this book, but there is lots and lots of loveliness to it, as you can expect from a middle grade. This is very bookish, and the children end up spending a lot of time in the local town lending library, and the librarian there is very lovely. So it is, again, all about found family, and it ends in the wintertime, and there is a Christmas scene, and this is just such a lovely, cozy read. If you enjoy books like The War That Saved My Life, then I highly recommend A Place to Hang the Moon. It is wonderful, and a wonderful winter read. And then I always think wintertime is a really wonderful time to read a classic. And as such, as a lot of you already know, but if you are new here, I am hosting a Jane Austen read-along in January. We are calling it January. And this year, for the first year, we are going to read Persuasion. And I just think that classics are perfect because in the wintertime, things are slower and we don't have as much going on. We have a little bit more downtime, downtime because the weather isn't good, and so we're not out doing outdoor things. And I think it is the perfect time to curl up with a classic novel and just immerse yourself in that world. So in January, I'm definitely going to be rereading Persuasion. I think this is an excellent pick, but I don't think you can go wrong with any classic book that you want to pick up and read in the wintertime. Austen is wonderful, the Brontes, Dickens. I think you could find lots of wonderful worlds to immerse yourself in during the winter season. If you do want to join us for January, all the information is down in the description box below. I will also have a link to my announcement video here in the cards, and you can check that out, and be sure to join the Discord server to join our discussions if you are interested in participating in January. And then my last few books, I think, just fall into a general fiction category, and so I'm just going to kind of go through them all. And first up, we have a very slim novella, which I know I've talked about before, but it is one of my very, very favorite books. The year it came out, I read it twice in 1 year. I loved it so much, so I read it in January, and then I read it again in December. So I think any of the winter months are perfect for reading this, and that is Small Things Like These by Claire Keegan. And this is such a powerful little book. It really packs a punch. And in this, we follow Bill Furlong, and it's set in 1985 in an Irish town in the lead up to Christmas. And Bill is a coal merchant, and he ends up stumbling upon a situation with a young girl at a convent. And the story really revolves around the Magdalen laundry. And if you don't know about the Magdalen laundries in Ireland, then this book will give you a lot of insight into that. And Claire Keegan is an amazing writer. I can't think of another writer who does so much with so few words. I know I say that every time I talk about her, but I can't say it enough. She is amazing in the way that she writes. And this is a book that you will read and it will have you thinking for a long, long time. And I will be rereading this one over and over again throughout the years because it is such a wonderful, wonderful read. It's not going to be light and uplifting necessarily, but I think there are lots of little nuggets of light inside of this, and I definitely think it is well worth a read, and winter is the perfect time for it. Next up is one of my very favorite books about the ballet world, and it is set during Twelfth Night. So this is perfect for wintertime reading, and that is Hester's Story by Adele Gérard. In this, we follow Hester Fielding. She is an aging ballerina. I mean, she is well past her ballerina days, but she always puts on this performance during Twelfth Night at her home, and so we kind of follow along in the lead up to this performance that she's putting on, and all of these people coming to stay at her home, and it sends her into kind of reminiscences about her life in the ballet world, and it is so engrossing. It is such a wonderful story. If you like kind of family dramas, if you like books set in the ballet world, then I cannot recommend this enough. It is set during wintertime. You can see this very snowy, wintry cover it has, and I adore this book. Though it's been a very long time since I've read it, so I am due for a reread. Maybe I'll get to it this winter. We shall see. It'd be perfect for reading around 12th Night, which is not too far from now. Next up, I have two books that have the exact same title, which is super confusing because they're both sort of, women's fiction, family saga, dramas, slice of life stories. And even though the books themselves aren't that similar in terms of their plots, the titles are the same. And so it's very confusing, but I recommend both of them. The first one I'm going to recommend is A Week in Winter by Maeve Binchy. And I read this a few winters ago and I absolutely adored it. I love Maeve Binchy. I think she is a fantastic writer. If you enjoy someone like Rosamund Pilcher, I think you should give Maeve Binchy a try, with the caveat that she does sometimes have a little bit more darkness to her. I mean, Rosamund Pilcher can have some heavy subject matter in her books, but I think she just has maybe a little bit more bite to her books than somebody like Rosamund Pilcher, but they are very much read-alikes. And I think A Week in Winter is an excellent book by Maeve Binchy. It's not one I hear talked about very much, and I highly recommend it for reading during the winter time. And it, again, it's sort of a family saga. We have a woman who has, I think she's purchased a home, like a large home, and she's having family come to stay with her for the holidays. And, you know, it's just all about all the different personalities, and each of them, we kind of get to hear all of their stories and what's going on with them. And then, you know, everything kind of gets wrapped up at the end of the book. It was just a wonderful read. It's very immersive. You can just get yourself settled on into this world and get to know these characters, and it was lovely. And the second book with the same title is A Week in Winter, but this one is by Marcia Willett. So we've got Maeve Binchy and Marcia Willett. So incredibly confusing. I really wish they had different titles, but they don't. So here we are. I love A Week in Winter. This was my favorite Marcia Willett book up until I just read the Chadwick family trilogy this year, but this comes in right up there with the Chadwick family. This is such a wonderful read. Again, Marcia Willett, very much a read-alike for Rosamund Pilcher. I don't think her books are quite as consistent as Rosamund Pilcher. There's definitely some I've loved and some that have just been okay, but I definitely recommend this one. And in this one, we have Maudie Todhunter, and she's going to be selling her summer home, and her stepdaughter, Selena, decides she wants to purchase it. And then there is a contractor who is helping out on kind of fixing up the house. And then we have another young woman who also comes into the picture. And so we've got a bit of a triangle going on there. And we just kind of, you know, follow these stories and find out what happens to everybody, and lots of, you know, family drama and a little bit of romance, and very cozy with the winter setting and this house being fixed up. And Marcia Willett is another one who's really great at describing homes and food and kind of those cozy things in life. And I highly recommend this one. So if you need something to get you through the winter and you've read all the Rosamund Pilcher books, then I definitely recommend giving Marcia Willett a try, and this is a great one to start with. And then, of course, I have to mention it because I just have to, because it is such a wonderful book, and that is Rosamund Pilcher's Winter Solstice. And this book is so lovely for the winter season. I think you can read it in December leading up to Christmas because it does end at Christmas time. I think you could read it in January. I think you could really just curl up with it anytime during the colder months. It would be perfect. And I just love this story. Again, not everything in here is easy and simple. We have some difficult subject matters being dealt with here, and there is some loss and tragedy at the beginning of this book, but it's all about people coming together, about people finding their family, that found family element. I think Rosamund Pilcher does that really well. And also just finding our own place in the world and how we fit in and who our people are and all of that good stuff, along with just her cozy descriptions of place, of homes, of food, of the winter season, of all the festive activities happening. And yeah, you cannot go wrong with this. This is a fantastic book. And that is it. Those are my wintry recommendations for you to curl up with. I'm gonna grab my warm beverage, actually. Hopefully it hasn't gone too cold while I was filming this. Nope, still feels warm. So, you know, grab yourself something warm to drink and pick up a book you can just immerse yourself in and curl up under a blanket by the fire. What could be better than that? And I'd love to hear from you. Have you read any of the books I mentioned here today, or are you going to put any of them on your TBR? And what books or what types of books do you like to read in the wintertime? Because I'm always curious to know what other people enjoy to read during this season. Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you enjoyed it, if you could hit that like button, and if you aren't already subscribed, hit that subscribe button. I would love to have you join my bookish community. And as always, I'll be back with another Vlogmas video very soon. Bye!